In this video, I'm going to break down the 7 mindset shifts that made me a sales killer without feeling sleazy. I'm going to show you exactly how I've scaled the business to doing about a 70% close rate. We did $1 million in revenue last year. We're on pace to do $1 million in revenue this year, plus a little bit more. And I used to have trouble with feeling sleazy and a bunch of other things. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 7 mindset problems that I had and how those 7 mindsets have evolved over the past 3 years of me being a closer and running a sales team on the Opt-ins team. So without further ado, these shifts changed everything. So if you're somebody who is taking closing calls and you feel like you're sleazy, if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel irritated, if you feel upset, if you feel like you're not getting the answers that you want, if you feel like you don't have the close rate you want, if you feel like people aren't answering the questions that you want, if you feel like you don't know how to come up with random things at the right time to objection handle, this is the exact video for you. It's going to make things much more smooth for you. It's going to remove friction from your business. So if you master these shifts, you'll never feel sleazy again. You'll close way more deals and you'll actually close them much more easily than you've been closing them before. So the first shift that I went through was it's not about me. It's about them, right? It's not about us. I used to get on calls and it'd be like, okay, my job is to close for the team. I need to make money for the team. I need to make money for me. I got some bills. And so I would get on the calls with this energy of like, okay, what do I need to do to convince this guy to buy, right? Literally, what do I need to say to convince this guy to buy? And now instead, I'm getting on these calls and I'm like, man, how do I help this person change their life? How do I help this person truly put out into the field where they're at, what's going to happen if they continue on the trajectory that they're on, and what's going to happen if they make this change, make this jump, and really put in this consistent action towards their goal. Okay, so really taking it away from me. It made a huge difference for me. It made a huge difference. And I have to constantly remind myself because again, this isn't like you just get it and it's gone. It's like, man, every day, of course we want to make more money. But sales calls, the goal isn't to make more money, right? The goal is to, what I say is there's 2 goals. So fair enough. 1, completely change somebody's life and help them. 2, make money while doing so. Okay, that's it, right? So yes, you are there to make some money. You're also there to change their person's life. And one can't happen without the other. And yeah, one can't happen without the other. So keep that frame in mind of it's not about how I can make the most money. It's how can I help this person change their life? There's a huge fundamental. By the more people you affect, the more good you do to the world, the more money you make, which is the argument I use when people are like, NBA players shouldn't get paid that much, right? I'm like, dude, look at the effect that they have. Look at the effect that sports players have on the world. They make millions of people happy, and so they are paid in accordance to that. Okay. So think of that same thing. If you're having trouble closing sales, literally just start giving out free value, not on a sales call necessarily, but give. And what's going to happen is you will receive. And so I always throw up to the universe, hey, my goal isn't to make the most money. My goal is to help the most people. And I know that I'll be taken care of if I do so. Number 2, I shift from irritated to grateful. So this call is a gift, and your skills as a coach is a gift from God, right? It is a gift. You've been put on this earth. You have gone through your trials and tribulations, and by some miracle, you are now conscious enough to realize that you can pass on the trials and tribulations, the knowledge you've extracted from them, and help other people condense the amount of trials and tribulations they have. Ted took him a while to become a millionaire, right? Dude's 35 years old. I'm getting there faster. Amon is 21 years old and he's making more money than I made at 21 years old, more money than Ted made at 21 years old. So it took Ted, X many years to become a millionaire. It took me half that. It's going to take Amon half that. And this is the same way when it comes to coaching is you actually get to come into this call with this person. And if you can convey properly what you can do and make them understand the value, you can half the time that it took you to heal and put that onto them, which is an immense gift, especially if you're teaching chronic pain, right? This person, you've been in pain for 10 years. Now somebody only has to be in pain for 5. You were broke for 10 years. Now somebody only has to be broke for 5 or less. You were lonely in a relationship for 10 years. Now somebody can find somebody in the next 90 days, right? You were overweight and insecure, and now somebody can lose 30 pounds in 30 days, whatever. That is an amazing gift. And I used to get on calls and I'd be irritated. I'd be like, man, I got to convince this person, right? Going back to lesson number 1, I got to convince this person. I got to get this person to buy this program. I know that it works, but now I got to get them going, and I got to figure all this out, and I got to walk them through this call. And I don't really want to get on a call for an hour, right? Now I thank God. I say, man, thank you, God, for bestowing this responsibility upon me, for trusting me with this job, with this goal of helping all of these people. I am so thankful for this role that you've put upon me, right? Thank you for this knowledge. Thank you for this wisdom. And I will do my best every single day to spread that and share that with every single person that I come in contact with. Okay, so shift that frame. This changed a lot for me, because I could be a salty man, right? We can all get salty, right? Man, I got to do this and this. Shifting the frame changed everything for me. Really raised that frequency, and you can just take it a little bit more silly and happily and more gratefully and more gracefully. Number 3, I went from avoiding discomfort to asking sacred questions. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I used to get so uncomfortable. I still do, right? Are you somebody who gets to the end of the call and they're like, yeah, I just need to think about it. And you're like, I don't want to ruin the call by asking, what do you need to think about? I don't want to wreck the rapport, right? I used to be so uncomfortable, and still sometimes I get uncomfortable with people who are like, yeah, man, just let me think about it. Or, oh, I just don't have the finances. And I'd be like, okay, bye. Because I wasn't willing to ask the uncomfortable questions. And so my old pattern was tiptoeing around them and being very, very worried to actually dig. And nothing changed for them, because the reality is, if you aren't willing to ask the questions, right, they're not going to get the answers. You know how sometimes your brain unconsciously answers things without actually thinking about it? That's what most people do. It's just a defense mechanism. So it's like, oh, it's going to be, $1,000. Okay, I need to think about it. They just say it unconsciously. And so what we need to do is we need to ask them, okay, cool. What do you need to think about it in a safe space, so that they can actually figure out, like, what do I need to think about? You'd be surprised at how many times people say, I don't know, right? Oh, gotcha. Okay, so, do you feel like this would actually work for you? Oh, 100%. Oh, okay. So, I mean, what we could do is we could process the payment and get booked in with your coach. Cool. Okay. Right. But just understanding that a lot of people have these defense mechanisms, right? Their energy isn't completely flowing, which is why they're dealing with a stagnant problem. They're stagnant in their life. And so by understanding that when you drop a price, the stagnancies arise, well, we need to restore flow. That's what we've been doing this entire call. Is there's a block between the unconscious and the conscious, and we need to bring it all to light. So instead of me tiptoeing around this uncomfortable stuff and letting people get off the call and then their life stays the same or it gets worse, and then I see them a year later and they're homeless or they're divorced and it's super depressing. I have so many different instances like that, and I take personal responsibility because I was not able to ask them the uncomfortable questions because I was prioritizing my own comfort as opposed to their own freedom, or their health, or their financial freedom, or their relationships. It's not about me. It's not about us, right? We are a servant. So ask those questions, because asking those questions, if the frame isn't, I'm asking the question so I can make money so I can get this guy's cash and run. No, you're asking these questions so I can help this person. I'm asking to help you, right? So is it wrong for a psychologist when somebody says I have a bad day to say, well, what was bad about it? No, that's their job. The same way when it comes to having these strategy and sales calls, when somebody gives you an objection, it's your job to handle it. That's why closers get paid. That's why it's such an important role, because people don't want to do it most of the time, but it needs to be done. Same thing with psychology. It could be very uncomfortable, but these conversations need to be had. If I don't ask hard questions, they stay stuck. My comfort cannot be more important than their freedom. It's a great thing to say often. Okay. Number 4, from giving away to empowering others to invest. I actually like this a lot. There's 3 types of levels, tiers, if you will, to pricing. What I usually say, Hormozi will say the same thing, Ted will say the same thing. Free, pre-recorded content. It's infinitely scalable. It takes no time from you. Paid, like low ticket, monthly recurring revenue, group calls, because you can do one to many people and it's not a huge pull on your time. You can work with 50, 100 people, still spend an hour on a group call. And then high ticket, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 10,000, 50, 100,000, that's going to be one-on-one, or at least some portion of one-on-one, because they're directly getting all of your time, and your time is the most valuable asset. That's the lever that we're playing with here across all of these. And so I used to actually give away one-on-one calls, and I would just spend time talking with people, trying to help them, until I realized I would always invest in myself, right? When things were expensive and I was having trouble with money, I would still put it on credit. I would find a way, and I still do find a way to invest, right? Even though we have more money in the bank, programs are still expensive, and it's still not fun to pay $10,000 or $20,000 for something, right? But I always find a way when I find it valuable. And so to take away somebody's ability to invest in themselves is actually kind of saying, man, I can do it, but you can't do it, right? It's like, if I can invest in one-on-one coaching and then get all the results from it, why does this person, why are you going to give them the same thing completely for free? Is it because you don't believe that they can provide for themselves and come up with this stuff and actually, invest in themselves? Do you think that they're lesser than you? No. No, the reality is they're just as equal, and they need to make that conscious decision in their own brain. You cannot decide for somebody that they're going to make a change. They need to decide for themselves, which is why when somebody makes a conscious decision to purchase a program, right, they're going to show up, they're going to take it seriously because they're betting on themselves, as opposed to me betting on you, who I don't even know if you've bet on yourself yet because you've done nothing to ante up. So I always give people an opportunity to invest in themselves. Not saying you can't have pre-recorded material, right? That being said, when it comes to something that has a value, don't just discount yourself, because you're not just discounting yourself, you're discounting their ability to bet on themselves and to provide for themselves. Huge. Number 5, shifting from hustle to energetic precision. So know when you're hot. For me, and I learned this from Nate, one of the best closers I've ever met. He taught me so much. He doesn't take calls till 10, and I used to take calls at 8, and my 8 o'clock calls weren't very good. and so I started taking calls at 10, and I was getting much better. And then my calls at 5 weren't very good. And so I stopped taking calls at 5 and stopped at 4, and my calls got much better. And so I know when I'm hot. I know my peak window is 10 to 4. Right. And so I do my best to get all of my sales calls, all my strategy calls in during those times. Discovery calls can be outliers, right? But and sometimes, duty calls, and you just got to get it done, right? And that's okay. But if we know when our peak times are, well, optimally, I'm going to play during my peak time. So figure out when that time is for you and try and set yourself up for success. Don't just allow Calendly to book you out all throughout the day, have a call here, have a call there, and just completely mess up your day. I try to keep them in one pack, get them done, get that structure. A lot of the people that I've met, the most successful of our clients, shout out Daniel Coffeen, they have a schedule, right? They have a schedule and they do the same thing every single day. And that's very similar to with your calls. You want to create a structure. You want to build a business around your life. You don't want to build your life around your business. So be conscious of that. And now this is, this varies when you're just grinding and things happen, right? But still be conscious of this. Number 6, shifting from frustration to compassionate curiosity. Alex Hormozi says this, and it's so excellent. He says, have childlike curiosity. When somebody says, oh, I can't afford it, right? Instead of be like, you can't afford it, why not? It's like, whoa, ooh, an adult can't say that. But if you're like, oh, you can't afford it? Oh, what do you mean by that? Right? It's like a kid. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I would always ask my parents stuff and they'd get a little bit ruffled, hey, because kids can ask questions and get away with it because it's just this childlike innocence. So carry that same childlike innocence when people are giving you objections because it's not going to burn the rapport. What burns the rapport is, I can't afford it. Oh, well, how much can you afford? Right? It's like, whoa, hold up now. But if you're like, oh, okay. And how much did you expect this to actually be? What did you have set aside for this opportunity? It's like, curious. Oh yeah, actually. So keep that tone, keep that curiosity. Don't get mad. Do not get mad. Ask once, reframe compassionately, and then if they still can't open up after gentle redirection, let the call go. Right? Go back to our other point: is lean out, don't lean in. Right? Just keep it absolutely for helping them, and if they don't want to be helped, then it is what it is. Pressure repels, patience converts. 7. Oh, yeah, from leaning in to leaning back. Beautiful. Detachment is power. Don't get on these calls and get super attached to the end result. Ted says this all the time. Don't get attached to the end result. Get on, do your thing, and what will happen will happen. Hormozi says the same thing. Get obsessed with the process. If you know that if you do 10 sales calls, you're going to close 7 of them, then don't get attached to getting on the sales call and closing a call. Just get attached to getting on 10 sales calls so you can close 7. Right? Get attached to the process because mathematically you're going to close 7 out of 10. So just continue taking sales calls. Don't stress about each one. Just do the process. The process is the power. Don't chase, don't try and convince, don't push. It's going to repel. When you stop needing them, they start needing you, right? When we're not needy, when we lean back, if somebody wants to kiss me and I lean back, they got to lean into me and they got to kiss me, right? If I'm leaning over here and trying to grab somebody, right, then I'm leaning in. And if I'm leaning out, then you got a girl leaning on you. You want them to lean into you. The less you need the sale, the more sales you close. That's 100% true, right? And that goes into the law of abundance. If you feel like you don't have a sale, you need to chase it, which then the universe goes like, oh, he doesn't have it, right? If you feel like you need to make $1 million, then the universe goes, oh, he needs to make $1 million because he doesn't have it, right? So instead, feel like you've already closed the sale, get on, and just vibe out. Bonus. Frequency matters. Yeah, this is a Benny D frequency bonus. So for me, personally, and from the clients that I've worked with, I know we work with a lot of health and fitness coaches, and a lot of them are vegan, right? Or a lot of them are not eating processed foods. So for me, I used to eat a bunch of like beans and rice before my calls, and I'd be cooked, I'd be sluggish, my frequency would be low. By juicing every morning, I do a bunch, like literally a bunch of celery and 2 green apples, Granny Smiths, and 4 carrots, because that's how you max out on carrots before your skin turns orange. Oh gosh. And a little thumb of turmeric or ginger, and that gets me going, man. That's all I need. And if I'm having a slow day, maybe a little bit of coffee, half calf, right? But I'm not eating heavy meals before my call. I'm eating live, living, high frequency fruits and juices so that when I get on calls, my frequency isn't the same frequency as money, as abundance, because money has a frequency. And if you can tune yourself to that station, that money is going to be flowing through that radio, baby, the radio being life, right? Music to my ears, if I do say so myself. So stay on that high vibration. Figure out what's working for you. I've had this conversation. Shout out Alexander. He was having a lot of trouble closing calls. He was eating a big giant steak before he would have conversations. And what do you know? He's having sluggish, lethargic calls. He started just drinking coffee and maybe a little bit of juice, and his close rate went up like 10, 20, 30%. It was instantaneous, right? So high vibration, high conversions, high frequency, high cash flow. Keep it going, guys. That's what I have for you today. These mind shifts made me unstoppable. I love what I do. I would rewatch this before your next sales call. I would comment below if you have one that you really resonate with. Hopefully this was useful for you. I know it's even useful for me to just say it. These are the fundamentals. Now, if you follow the fundamentals, if you follow the correct principles, there's no way for you to lose because you're just following the principles. You're following the process. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, peace.